Hello, everyone, and welcome to our October energy gathering, focusing on the energy of Scorpio. Patience is power. And I got to experience a lot of patience today. There was a lot of different things that required patience, and I'm happy to tell you I did pretty good. So I invite you to embrace patience is power during the Scorpio time. But I would like to introduce you to myself in case you don't know me. And I'm so grateful for all the people that are watching this presentation tonight live, and for those that may be watching it in the future on YouTube, because we're all connected in this now moment. That's due to quantum energy. So we'll talk a little bit about that tonight too. But my name is Mary Beth Wollenschlager, and I created Love Your Life in Sync. I was inspired during the pandemic last year. I had a lot of time to think, and we all got to practice patience last year, I think. And I was inspired to put together some different aspects of different tools and techniques that I've learned along the years and come up with a new program that I like to call Love Your Life in Sync. And Love Your Life in Sync, that might sound like a funny name to you, or a big challenge, or unreasonable, or impractical, or even impossible, or it might appeal to you. So I invite you to open your heart and think about what it might be like to love your life in sync, to live a life that you love. And so that's what Love Your Life in Sync offers. I have 3 different areas to help us harmonize body, mind, and energy. And we start the energy, body, mind, and energy, harmonizing all 3 of those. And I do that through healing work, including virtual healing, which is a form of quantum healing. I've been studying the non-local aspects of connection, the non-local aspects of healing. So virtual healing is becoming more popular now. More people are embracing it and trying it out. So I invite you to open up to that possibility. Also included in the trifecta of Love Your Life in Sync is astrology. And the reason I love astrology is I think it helps us learn more about ourselves. With astrology, if you subscribe to as above, so below, as within, so without, we are made of the stardust, and you have a whole universe within you. So learning about the energies available, which is what tonight's call is also about, can help us understand ourselves better. And when we understand ourselves better, I think we're able to be more compassionate with others. The third aspect is about repatterning our thoughts through techniques like heart math, which helps us get our hearts and our brains working together in a coherent fashion. The heart holds so much intelligence for us. It's so guiding. It helps us respond rather than react. And that's really needed right now. There's so much change happening on our planet. And if we can hold that energy, that heart intelligence, we can help transform the world. So that was my goal, that was my desire, is to help my fellow humans during this extraordinary time on planet Earth. So I have my website up here, my phone number, and my email. And I'm happy to tell you, I'm also now on YouTube, and I have an Instagram and a Facebook account as well. So you can connect with me on any one of those ways. And tonight's call is going to go like this. We're going we're going to focus on the energy of Scorpio. The sun will be moving into Scorpio season on Saturday. And you might know people with Scorpio birthdays or have strong Scorpio astrology in their chart, meaning maybe their moon is in Scorpio or their rising sign. And the rising sign is just where the sun was on the horizon at the moment you were born. So if you know what time you're born, we can figure out your rising sign. The rising sign is sort of like a mask. It's how you present to yourself, to the world. So it's how people see you. And it's also what you hide behind. But the Scorpio energy, when the sun is in Scorpio, that means that energy is available to all of us. So I think it's really fun to learn about what the Scorpio energy entails, to invite that in, see where that shows up into our lives, see where we can invite it in, and see where we can connect with that. And it's seasonal. So it's always fun to do the things that are in season in their season. So tonight's call, I will share about the astrology. I'm also going to spend a little extra time tonight showing you a really important hand reflexology technique that is associated with Scorpio. You'll understand why when we get to that part of the program. But I'm going to spend a little extra time. There's a few slides because I think it's simple, but it requires a little patience to understand. And it's a very helpful tool, as I think you'll agree with that. And we'll also do some heart math and talk about how to get coherent in our heart. So let's get started. Oh, there we go. I also wanted to let you know that I have 2 special offers at the end of the presentation. So if you're listening at a later date or even now, I invite you to make sure you stay till the end to hear about the special offers. So let's begin with the quick coherence technique. So I invite you now to either gaze at this beautiful scorpionic picture. Scorpio season is about the dead leaves, which show they have their beauty and then they start to dry up, but I think they're still quite beautiful here. And of course, they're arranged in a heart, and you can also see the reflection of the trees in the water. So this is a beautiful image because I think it just invites us to go a little deeper. And Scorpio is definitely about going deeper. So you can either glance at that, hold that image, or you can gently tap your heart. And I invite you to take a couple of nice breaths, imagining the breath flowing in and out of your heart, breathing a little slower and a little deeper, and finding a nice, gentle, comfortable rhythm, no forcing, just a nice focus. And as you focus on your breath, I invite you to think of something that makes you smile. Think of something that lights you up from within. I have a little kitty here right beside me who's not only being good, but she's purring and I'm petting her and it's making me smile. And then I want you to take that thought that's making you smile and turn it into a feeling. Maybe it's a feeling of appreciation or gratitude, but allow yourself to feel it. Don't just think it. See if you can feel it in your body. See if you can feel gratitude and appreciation. See if you can relax into that feeling. And again, continue focusing on the heart, breathing a little slower, a little deeper, and feeling the body relax into gratitude. this is a technique that you can use anytime, any place, anywhere. Nobody has to even know you're doing it. When you're first learning it, you might want to do it with your eyes closed, but as you get good at this, you can do it with your eyes open. And that's one of the beauty of this technique is to be able to do it eyes open in the moment. So if you feel yourself getting triggered or starting to have an emotion you really don't want to have, or are just feeling off or down, you can use this technique. And I also invite you, we'll just stay here for one more moment and continuing to focus on the heart again. I'll bring you back in there, focusing on the heart. And I invite you to feel the chair you're sitting on and maybe feel your feet on the ground and connect in with Mother Earth, connect in with Gaia. Invite the energies and the grounding of Gaia in. And I invite you also to consider opening your heart during this presentation. Maybe there's a special gem here for you tonight. Maybe you'll hear something you've already heard, but maybe you'll hear it in a new way, or it'll just strike you differently tonight. And maybe there are some things that you will hear that just will not resonate with you. If that's the case, I invite you to just let them go. Scorpio is about letting go, release and let go. There's no need for judgment. Judgment brings our energy down. So Scorpio is inviting us to learn how to let go and release without judgment. So Scorpio Astrology. So I always like to share the qualities and the element of the sign. Scorpio is one of the 3 astrological signs during the fall season. The first sign is Libra, which actually we are currently in Libra until Saturday when we move into Scorpio. And Libra is the first sign of fall. So that's one of the fixed signs, or I'm sorry, that's the cardinal sign that initiates things. When we move into Scorpio, we're in the middle of fall. We're deep into fall. So Scorpio is the fixed energy. And then the last sign of fall is Sagittarius, and that's the sign where we change. That's the mutable sign where we change into winter. And that will be the focus of next month's call, which will be the 3rd Wednesday of the month, November 17th. The other thing I like to point out is the element that is associated with Scorpio, and that is water, because Scorpio is one of the deepest like emotion, driven by emotions. So water represents our emotions. So you can think about fixed water for a moment, and fixed water can take a variety of forms. Fixed water in a pond, in a swamp, if the water isn't moving, it can get stagnant and it can grow funky things and it can get kind of smelly and gross. And it's okay to talk about smelly and gross things because we are in the spooky Scorpio season. It's no mistake that Halloween falls during the time period of Scorpio, because Scorpio is ruled by the planet Pluto. And in mythology, Pluto, or Hades, was the guide to take the souls to the underworld. So there's a mysterious quality to Scorpio. And we have to embrace, when we talk about life, when we think about life, we sometimes focus on birth, but really, when we talk about the whole spectrum of life, life is just as much about death as it is about birth. And I think Scorpio, in a certain way, invites us to consider some things that maybe are a little uncomfortable and just go deeper. So the symbol for Scorpio, so Scorpio actually has 3 symbols. It's the only sign, another indication of how powerful it is. It has 3 different symbols. the scorpion, which sort of looks like a spider with a stinger tail, and the scorpion crawls on the ground. And then it has the eagle, and eagles, the things that are most amazing, one of the most amazing things about eagles is their eyesight. Eagles can see a field mouse 3 football fields away. So I think that's where the term eagle eye comes from. And then we have the phoenix. And the phoenix is the mythological bird that rises from the ashes. So it's like the rebirth and the reborn. And you can see the phoenix here in all its glory. It's a little scary looking. It certainly looks intense to be born up out of the fire. And that is the key phrase for Scorpio. I intensify. So Scorpio really likes to live in the present moment as though it was the last moment. And Scorpio has the courage to feel anything, no matter how terrifying, disgusting, or disturbing. Scorpio can be described as mercilessly introspective. So we're invited to look at ourselves, go deep. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And what Scorpio likes to do is base its actions on feelings. So Scorpio is all about the feeling, and that's what drives it to action. It doesn't care too much about reason. Reason is a little too impersonal for Scorpio. And again, this isn't to say that everybody born under the sign of Scorpio is going to be exactly like this. This is just the energies that are associated with astrology. And back to the example of fixed water. So I gave you a stagnant swamp, but ice is also fixed water. And ice can be wonderful on a hot day if you're really warm, or put in a cold drink, it makes it refreshing. And ice is wonderful for hockey players. They wouldn't be able to have their sport if they couldn't skate. But if we're in a parking lot and we have to walk across that parking lot and it's icy, we might not want it to be, we might not want to skate. So just like every astrological sign has different sides to it, sides we may want to experience and sides we may not want to experience, or we could say higher vibrations and lower vibrations. And I think, well, every sign has that, but I think the scorpion, then the eagle, and then the phoenix kind of speak to that. The scorpion is, there's a lovely fairy tale. I think it's a frog. The water is rising, and the scorpion and the frog are on one side of it, and the scorpion says to the frog, carry me across swim me across, let me sit on your back and swim across the water so we can both get to higher ground. And the frog says, I don't really trust you. You'll probably sting me. And the scorpion says, well, if I stung you, that would be foolish because you would die and I would drown. So of course I'm not going to sting you. But then they get halfway across and the Scorpio stings the frog. And the frog says, what are you doing? And the Scorpio just says, it's in my nature. So there's a scary Scorpio story for you. But the phoenix, I think, is the higher vibration, the letting yourself be totally destroyed and then be reborn. And if that's not intense, I don't know what is. So let's talk a little about embodying the Scorpio energies. So in the body, the Scorpio rules the elimination system. So I mentioned we're going to do some hand reflexology, and you'll see how that ties together in a few moments. The colors of Scorpio. So if you wear these colors, you just invite some of the Scorpio energy in, and they're the deep blood red, the midnight blue, sparkly black, and the gold. And most of those colors are in this picture. That's why I wanted to show this picture again. So Scorpios make great detectives because they like to go undercover and see what's going on below the surface. Scorpios pay attention to the subtleties. If you think about some of the shows with the detectives, like one of my favorite shows back in the day was Columbo. Columbo was so almost an undercover person because he seemed like he was a bumbling fool, really, but he paid attention to all the subtleties of what was going on. He paid attention to people's actions, and that's Scorpio. Scorpio is very psychic and very much into the psyche. So another thing about being a detective is being patient, right? We see in all the TV shows, the lookout guys are sitting in their car waiting, watching for hours, or undercover people do that. So we're going to talk about patience and silence. And that's going to lead us into something called compassionate latitude and forgiveness. And I think we're kind of moving almost from the idea of being a scorpion to the eagle and maybe the phoenix, because forgiveness can be transforming. And sometimes I think you might feel like you have to go through the fire to even be able to forgive. So Scorpio says, be a detective of the natural mysteries. Like, how does a seedling turn into a tree? So maybe just have some fun exploring some nature things. It's a wonderful time of year to experience the change in the seasons if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, and notice notice what's happening now, because now is the time that things are beginning their process that will ultimately lead to regeneration. But because Scorpio is so much about the psyche, it's also a wonderful time to learn more about yourself. What makes you tick? And you can do that through learning more about astrology. You can do that through practicing some heart math techniques to find a way to, I hate to use the word be more in control of yourself, but be more aware, I think, would be a better way to put it. So you can make more conscious choices. We're also invited to practice patience with Scorpio. And I think one thing that really goes along well with patience is the idea of silence and stillness, no matter where you are. So even if you're in a crowded, busy city in traffic or walking and it's very noisy, you can still practice silence. Or if you're talking with someone or having a conversation, you can hold that space of silence. Maybe you might call it a pregnant pause, where you just let your thoughts, instead of jumping in, just let your thoughts settle and really listen to the person. And then continue speaking when you're ready. Or just being in stillness, in nature perhaps. And here's a kind of a spooky, scary Scorpio scene with the dead leaves and the light snow and the dark night. But any place in nature is always lovely to spend some time in the stillness and in the silence and practice patience. So one of Scorpio's invitations is practicing patience. So you might want to see where you can invite that in. So this is compassion, this idea of compassionate latitude. This comes from the Heart Math organization. And compassion, we're defining here as compassion as a combination of love and wisdom. And latitude is about how much freedom we have in making our choices or judgment. So when we're seeing someone, and we can have compassion for this couple, they're seniors. We're going to say they're seniors because they have white hair and they're both holding their backs and they look like maybe they have backaches, but there's a little dog there and the woman looks like she wants to pet the dog. She knows, it's almost as if she knows how much the dog would enjoy being petted. And she, even though it might be hard for her to bend down, she's willing to do that and extend some compassion to that little animal. And we can even extend compassion to these people as we look at them. We have freedom in how, if we're judging, we can notice if we're judging, we can think, ooh, that looks like me, or ooh, that looks like my parents or my grandparents, or ooh, I don't want to look like that someday. I hope that's not where I'm headed. But we have a choice in how we make our judgments. This week, I heard a story on the radio or on the news about a teenager that had murdered a child when he was 13. That when the person that the murderer was 13 years old, and he went to jail, and he's now 41, and he was sentenced to life imprisonment for killing this child. And he's 41 and he's now getting out. And my first reaction was, that is wrong. That is so wrong. He should be in for life. And then I thought about it. I don't know what the circumstances, what kind of a life could you imagine that a 13-year-old might have had that would have led him to do something like that? And no matter how long this person, this human being, is in jail, it's not going to bring back the child. But this person has spent over 30 years or nearly 30 years in jail. And maybe we could have compassionate latitude for him. Maybe he's had some time to be mercilessly introspective. Maybe he hasn't, but maybe he has. But who am I to say, oh, that's wrong? He should be in for life. So it's just an invitation to notice where you're holding judgment and to recognize that you do have freedom in how you are making those judgments. So we can practice compassionate latitude with ourselves and with each other. And sometimes it might be even easier to practice it with somebody we don't know personally, like somebody we hear about on the news. Like, now, if I were the mother of that child that was murdered, maybe it would be much harder for me, probably would be much harder for me to have compassionate latitude, but maybe it wouldn't. But Scorpio, I think, invites us to experience a higher vibration of going deep and finding ways. And also, if you think about it, being highly emotional, it's also very passionate. So compassion would be a nice high vibration of the Scorpio energy. And I think compassionate latitude leads us to forgiveness. And if we can seek to remember that the truth is always colored by perspective, we can all witness the same thing and have a different version of what happened. And the truth can change over time. If we think of things like the world was flat, that was what was believed to be a truth at one time. And now we know the world is round. Although I think there are some people that are beginning to think it's flat again. But forgiveness is a very high vibration. It takes a lot of courage and strength to forgive, but to not forgive also takes a lot of strength. And if you think about the power of forgiving, when you hold a grudge, that's kind of like that stagnant water. Things are growing inside of you, and they're going to manifest probably in a physical form that you may not really want. It's been said that forgiveness is like taking a poison pill, or not. It's said that not forgiving is like taking a poison pill and expecting the other person to die. So you can think of forgiveness as a gift you give yourself. And it doesn't mean that you necessarily forget what happened, or say that what happened was okay, but you can exercise compassionate latitude in your judgment and try and remember with compassionate latitude too, that everyone is doing the best they can, or at least you can practice assuming they are. Maybe they are, maybe they really aren't, but you don't know. So why be a harsh judge? When you're a harsh judge, it brings down your energy. So Scorpio also invites us to let go of judgments. Okay, so some of the Scorpio themes that I've mentioned are about going deep. And there we have the water image again, one of our Scorpio qualities, and also the color, that midnight blue color, scorpionic color. And then we have the release and letting go and releasing. And more Scorpio colors. We've got the blood red, the black, and we've got some flecks of gold in this picture. So if you think about the body and you think about going deep and releasing, you might have a hint of where I'm going with the hand reflexology this month. Are you ready? Here it is. It's Halloween season. I get to be a little gross. So we have here a picture of the colon, and I'm going to teach you a little hand reflexology to help with issues relating to the colon. Now, to understand reflexology, it's important to remember that the reason reflexology works is because of intention and because of visualizing the body laid over the hands. So you have to understand and know where the body parts are located in the body, and then you can reflect those on the hands. So I've drawn a picture, or I've drawn a line right down the center of the colon, because this is, if this was our body and this was our colon, and we drew a line down the center, this would be the right-hand side of the body, and this would be the left-hand side. So in reflexology, when you have an organ that you're working on, like the lungs or the kidneys, you have two of those. So you're going to have a reflex point on both hands, because often these points are mirror images. If you cut the body in half and folded it, the kidneys would line up and the lungs would line up. So you have a reflex point on each hand, and it's in the exact same spot. Not so with the colon. We have half of the colon on the right side and half of the colon on the left side. but we need to understand the flow of the colon, the flow of the material through the colon. So this, on the right-hand side where I'm pointing here, this little structure, this connects to the small intestine. The small intestine would be in the middle here. Now, the small intestine, the function of the small intestine is to separate the good from the bad and assimilate and let the bad, what isn't useful, flow through here. Now, that was our Virgo. The Virgo rules the small intestine because Virgo likes to analyze and separate the wheat from the chaff, the good from the useful from the not useful. So what's not useful is going to enter in here, which is the right side of the colon, and it's going to travel up. This is just going to just be a brief anatomy lesson, so don't get too worried. But it's kind of interesting, I think. So from this structure, from the small intestine, the matter that we're going to eliminate flows in to the ascending colon. Now we're on the right-hand side of the body. So the ascending colon, the material travels up, and then it's going to flow into the transverse portion of the colon, which, as the name implies, the transverses from the right side of the body over to the left side of the body. And then it comes down through the descending colon. So again, the right side of the body, it ascends and transverses, moves across, comes across further on the left-hand side of the body and down the left. So you might imagine that that's how it works on the hands, but you have to arrange your hands in a certain way. And I have that picture over here on the right-hand side. So, and you can try this at home. You just start with your palms up and you simply put your right hand on top, and your thumbs are naturally going to come together. So that's the first thing that you have to learn to use this technique. We'll go into a little more detail, but understanding the flow of the colon. So the anatomy of the colon flow, it's in 4 steps. So again, on the hand, we would start at this point on the pinky side of the hand, on the right hand, and we would travel up, and that would be the ascending colon. And then we would travel across the right hand, which is the transverse portion of the colon. We continue on the left hand. Now notice on the left hand, we are starting in a different spot. We are starting on the thumb side at the top of the colon. So then the transverse colon continues here and then down the left hand to the descending colon. So the technique that I would like to share with you, I learned from one of my reflexology teachers, Sue Ricks. And the techniques that you can use, and you can use these for any hand reflexology, it's called thumb walking. So just imagine your thumb inchworming across the area, across the path that you want to work on. The other technique would just be a gentle sweeping motion. And you can use both of these techniques for your for the bowel sweep. You can do each one of those up to 3 times, but this is something you need to tune in and see what's right for you. You need to trust your gut, so to speak, because you are working on the gut, so you will know. And reflexology is done with intention. So we might want to use this because things are not moving, because things are stuck. And we've probably all experienced that at some point, and we know that that's not comfortable. It can make us really cranky. So this bowel sweep can be used to get things flowing. And it also can be used if you have the opposite issue, where you have an overactive colon and things are, shall we say, overflowing. So we can use it to soothe or calm down. Now, this bowel sweep can also be done on the feet, but you're not going to be able to do that on your own feet. So that's why I'm sharing the way to do it on your hands. If you did it on the feet, you would do it on somebody else's feet, and it's almost easier. You don't have to cross your ankles over. You would just put the 2 feet together naturally. The big toes would be together, and you'd start on the right hand side, travel up the right hand side and over, and then cross over to the left foot and down. So let's look at it in a little more detail. So again, it's just going to be up, across, and down. Those are the reflex points on the hand. So if we break it down, it takes a little practice and patience, and that's good because we are working with Scorpio and practicing patience. So we're going to start, the starting point is on the pinky side, on the right hand. I'm going to start working on the right hand, following the flow, up and across, just like on the colon, up and across. Now, we're going to continue, and note that the continue point is on the thumb side, and you're going to travel across and down. So this will be posted on YouTube, so you can look at it again. But the important thing is to start with the right hand on top, and remember that when you do the right hand, you start on the pinky side, up and over, and then you switch to your left hand, and the continue point is on the thumb side over here. This is the part that people get confused. So it takes a little practice and patience. All right. So what Scorpio invitations appeal to you this month? And I thought this was a really fun picture for Scorpio. It's going slow. It's close to the earth, and we've got somebody riding the back of this amazing snail. So be a detective of natural mysteries, or maybe be a detective of yourself, practicing patience and silence and looking for the subtleties in the stillness, or practicing compassionate latitude. Or maybe there's something else that is calling you, something else scorpionic that is calling you this month. So I invite you to consider what appeals to you, see what shows up for you this month, see what you're drawn to, see what happens. Now, I would be very remiss if I didn't mention the full moon, because the full moon was today, and the full moon is in Aries. And one of the really nice things about astrology is there's so many cycles and patterns. Aries is the beginning of is the first sign in the natural astrological chart. So every month the moon is the moon is full in a different sign. Now the moon is full when it's opposite the sun. So Aries is the first sign, and Libra, we're still in Libra for the next 3 days. So if you're interested, you could go on YouTube and re-watch the Libra presentation from last month. I've had several people tell me that they got even more out of it the second month. But with the full moon in Aries, the opposite sign and it's full because the opposite sign is in Libra. And Aries is about the self, and Libra is about the other. So with the full moon being in Aries this month, we're starting a new cycle. So there's all these cycles and patterns always continuing. And because Aries is the first sign in the astrological zodiac, in the zodiac, it represents new beginnings. So even though we're in the middle of fall in one part of our cycle, in another part of our cycle, we're starting new. We're starting in Aries. And so this is a chance for new beginnings. So I'd like to go back to repatterning our thoughts for a moment. And I invite you to consider this month starting something new, what it would feel like to experience more of the thing you want. Maybe it's joy or connection, bliss, abundance, hope, healing, trust, any one of those things. Or maybe it's something completely different. But I invite you to just think about something you want to experience. And then instead of telling yourself you already have that or you already are that, just ask the question, what would it feel like to experience this? And maybe be patient with yourself and spend some time in the silence and in the stillness and try and see if you can conjure up the feeling that you want. Because we need to, what we want, we need to be. And this is a way to do that. This is an experiment, if you will, to try this. So in Scorpio is all about the feelings. So I thought this would be a good month to practice this exercise. And as I mentioned before, Scorpio bases its actions on feelings, but we have been taught to repress a lot of our feelings. And when we repress those feelings, we are in disharmony between our feelings and our actions. So that's again why I bring this up this month. I think it's a good month to try this as an experiment. So you could use the quick coherence technique that we started out with, where you focus on your heart, bringing your attention to the heart, get into that space where your breath is flowing in rhythm, and think about something you want to experience and try and feel it. Just ask, what would it feel like to experience this? And then the second half of this is you're a detective and you see where this shows up. And maybe it's going to show up. You have to be open for the subtleties of how maybe connection is going to show up. Like maybe you're looking for a new relationship. And so you want to focus on connection. But maybe you will experience connection in other ways. So the more you can tune in, be a detective, go deep, look for the subtleties, imagine the experience, and pay attention, be aware. Scorpio invites us to be aware. Be aware of the little things. Be aware of the subtleties. And this is also, you can also use this technique if you're experiencing a problem, because when you have a problem, you also have the solution. But the energy that created the problem, we have to be in a different frequency to find the solution. So when you're in the problem, you can ask, what would it feel like to experience the solution? And just use your imagination and treat it the same way. Maybe you can imagine some things and then look for them. Look for how this might show up. And it'll show up in your life, but you have to be the detective. You have to be scorpionic about it and really look for it. So, speaking of being scorpionic, is it time for a new image? Is it time to sync up with the life your heart desires? After all, life is too short not to love the one you're living. So the things that Love Your Life in Sync offers the healing, the virtual healing, the astrology, and the repatterning of thoughts can help you do all these things to help you create a new image. And now I have my first special offer, and this is available for the first 3 people to contact me, and that's a 20% discount off of the foundational session. And you can find all the details for that on my website. And it's a little bit like what we went through today, only it's personalized just for you. And it is a 2-hour session that we break into 2 parts, 1 hour each. My second special offer is celebrating my new YouTube channel. So I'm going to invite you to watch the Scorpio video, which will be up shortly. I'll send you an email when it's up. And then I invite you to leave a comment by November 13th, and then you'll be entered into a drawing to win a complimentary 30-minute one-on-one session with me. And I will actually draw the winner on next month's call, which will be on November 17th. So that's the presentation for today. There's my contact information, my website, Love Your Life in Sync, my phone number, 716-939-0107, my email, marybeth@loveyourlifeinsync.com. And I am on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So thank you very much. And we can stop the recording.